I will talk about the technology transfer and its economic effect. The technology is a manifestation of the scientific ideas and theories and the known process and procedures and methods used to produce the tangible goods and service. In most cases, the role of science in international economy is embodied by the technology. And the transfer of technology can bring corresponding and economic effects. In today's international technology structure, there is a distinction between the labor intensive technology, capital intensive, and intelligence intensive technologies, which we have mentioned sometimes before. So, so the international transfer of technology, the motivation of this transfer is to the technology refers to the process, procedure, and methods used in the production and is the physical manifestation of the scientific theory. That is theory transfer refers to transfer of the systematic knowledge of this process and procedures and methods. In the international economy, although the role of the technology to the economies needs to be manifested by material progress and the improvement of human quality, technology transfer studied by the technology transfer studied by the international economy is mostly unrelated to the substantial contents, such as the product or equipment transfer themselves. So this means the capital is not the physical transfer of those um, objects, such as the transfer of those technologies. They just study the flow of this technology, not the physical objects transfer themselves. So the reason for this transfer is caused by the international, because the introduction of technology promotes the economy and brings the economic benefits to the enterprises that introduce the technology. Meanwhile, the introduction of the technology will change the industrial structure and improve the competitiveness of the enterprise that introduce the technology in their markets. From the perspective of the technology exporter, this transfer means transfer of technology is going out of the dates. They are transferring the technology that has run out of dates. That to extend the life cycle, just as we discussed the product's life cycle traits theory. To extend the life cycle of certain technology in a different country, that will obtain the economic benefit of this technology transfer. So, in a word, the drive of the economic benefit is the fundamental motivation for economic and for an economy and enterprises to introduce technology. So, in In the specific process, there are production targets, benefit targets, accumulation target, and improvement structure targets. But a cost-benefit analysis is what people must consider when they transfer the technology. There are many forms of this transfer. Sometimes it's use of the patent or technological secrets, and this dissemination of the manufacturing technology. And to be more specific, there have the forms of vertical, horizontal, simple, absorbing, and paid and free, different types. And the former problem, the vertical technique transfer refers to absorption of the basic research results of one country in the applied research of another country, or the application of research result of one country in the production of another country. That means the vertical technology transfer means if the country, for example, the United States, have some technology innovation, have a new patent, but the United States didn't put this technology into the real production, or they didn't use the technology to manufacture the products. So they just transferred the patent to China, for example, and China used that patent to manufacture the new innovative products in China without the first product in United States. So that is a vertical technology transfer. For the horizontal technology transfer, it refers to the adoption of the technology already applied in a country by production in another country. In practice, there are also hybrid technological transfer. That is, transfer of a country is both vertical or horizontal. The simple transfer means the technology from one country to another, regardless of whether that country can replicate the technology. For the absorption technology transfer means that is also called the real technology transfer. That requires the transferee countries to replicate the transfer technology. So for the previous example, if that patent is transferred from United States to China, in order to be a absorption technology transfer, China needs to replicate that technology without the original technology to be output in United States. So they should get that technology become Chinese own technology without relying on United States to reproduce the technology when they need them. So that's the difference. And the economic analysis of this transfer is similar to the previous one. I just don't want to focus on this part. They're similar to the capital intensive and the labor intensive. You can just review the previous we studied in the trade theory. So what the difference between the capital intensive and labor intensive? That mostly focus on to analyze the difference between those two types of technology. After this, there's also some other analysis. For the other economic analysis of international factor transfer, that's being called the two-gap model, was proposed by American economists Cherry taught in 1960s. That theory theoretically explained the necessity for developing countries to use foreign capital to make up for their domestic capital shortage. The main idea of this theory is that in the macroeconomic, the balance between the investment of saving and the balance between the imports and exports, or the former one also called the savings gap, the latter one also called the foreign exchange gap. That two gap can be balanced in order to maintain a certain rate of economic growth. And since the investment, savings, imports, exports are all independent, the two gaps are not necessarily balanced. There are two ways to balance them. One is to rely on the foreign capital. When the domestic saving gap is larger than the foreign exchange gap, the investment should be reduced and the savings must be increased. And when the foreign exchange gap is greater than the savings gap, and the imports must be reduced or exports increased. In this way, online savings and exports are likely to increase. The growth will slow down.